Last time on the Maid who spoke 12 languages. Maya Robinson, the invisible housekeeper, was framed for stealing a $75,000 diamond necklace she never touched. Security footage lied. Witnesses were paid. Even the judge was bought. But Maya fought back with brains, languages, and unbreakable will. She exposed the timestamp tricks, uncovered a pattern of fake thefts, and forced Judge Mitchell to step down in disgrace. At 53:05, as the cell door finally opened, Maya stepped out with an ankle monitor and a secret note from an ally inside Victoria's empire. Hope flickered for the first time. But Victoria Sterling was far from finished. Now, free but still hunted, Maya is about to turn the tables. This is part 2, the counterattack.
The ankle monitor felt heavy on Maya's leg as she stepped into Zoe's small apartment in Westchester. After 2 weeks in jail, even this modest space felt like luxury. She had been released just 3 hours ago, and her mind was still processing this sudden change in her circumstances. "Home, sweet home, at least for now," Zoe said, showing Maya to the pull-out couch that would be her bed. "The judge approved this address for your house arrest." Maya sat down, touching the plastic monitor around her ankle. "I still can't believe Judge Mitchell recused himself." "Your mention of the Sterling Foundation donation must have scared him," Zoe said, bringing Maya a cup of tea. "The new judge, Watkins, seems fair at least." David arrived 20 minutes later carrying several folders and his laptop. "We don't have much time," he said urgently. "Victoria's lawyers are trying to get your trial date moved up again." "Why?" Maya asked. "They're panicking," David explained. "Caroline Foster's subpoenas are starting to uncover things. Victoria wants this case over before more evidence comes to light." Maya spread the documents across Zoe's dining table, creating a timeline of events. "I think I understand the pattern now," she said. "Victoria accuses staff of theft during her dinner parties to distract from money movements." "Exactly," David nodded. "The necklace probably isn't even missing. She likely hid it herself." A knock at the door made them all freeze. Zoe peeked through the peephole, then relaxed. "It's Pierre Laurent." The man who entered was in his 50s with salt and pepper hair and tired eyes. He glanced nervously at the ankle monitor on Maya's leg. "Mr. Laurent," Maya said, extending her hand. "Thank you for coming." Pierre shook her hand firmly. "Call me Pierre. I worked as Victoria's driver for 8 years until last March." "Why did you leave?" David asked. Pierre sat down heavily. "I knew too much. Victoria offered me money to stay quiet, but I couldn't be part of it anymore." "Part of what exactly?" Maya prompted. "The setups," Pierre said. 3 times I saw her hide jewelry or artwork, then accuse staff of stealing. The first time I believed her. By the third, I knew it was a pattern." "Did you ever understand why?" Zoe asked. Pierre nodded. "At first I thought it was insurance fraud, but then I overheard a phone call. Victoria was speaking to someone about moving the assets while everyone was distracted by the theft investigation." Maya leaned forward. "Do you have any proof?" Pierre pulled out his phone. "I saved text messages. Victoria isn't as careful with her drivers as she should be." He scrolled through his phone and showed them the screen. "This was sent 3 days before your arrest." The text from Victoria to Pierre read, "Need you to drive me to Westport Bank Thursday before the dinner. Setting up the new girl this time. Keep the car ready after the party in case things get complicated." "This is exactly what we need," Maya said, feeling a surge of hope. Just then, Maya's phone rang. It was Thomas Reed. "Maya, the prosecution has a new offer," Reed said without preamble. "No jail time if you plead guilty and sign documents admitting to a gambling addiction." "Gambling addiction?" Maya repeated, confused. "I've never gambled in my life." "They've created a whole story," Reed explained. "That you stole the necklace to pay gambling debts. It explains the pawn shop ticket they planted." "I'm not signing anything false," Maya said firmly. "Think about it," Reed urged. "No jail time. This case goes away." After hanging up, Maya explained the offer to the others. "They're desperate," David said. "They're trying to create a narrative that explains why a maid would steal such an expensive item." Their planning session was interrupted by another call. This time, it was Caroline Foster. "Ms. Robinson," Foster said, her voice formal but excited, "I wanted you to know that Judge Watkins has approved our request to seize the complete security records from Sterling Properties." "That's fantastic," Maya replied. "There's more," Foster continued. "Robert Chen missed his scheduled interview with federal investigators yesterday. He's disappeared." After ending the call, Maya turned to the others. "Chen is running. That confirms he was involved in tampering with the security footage." Pierre looked troubled. "If Chen is running, Victoria must be destroying evidence too." "We need to move faster," David agreed. The next morning brought news that confirmed their fears. Judge Watkins had called an emergency hearing. In the courtroom, James Whitaker stood with two new attorneys beside him. Victoria sat behind them, wearing an expression of practiced concern. Judge Watkins, a serious woman in her 60s with short gray hair, addressed the court. "Mr. Whitaker, you've requested this emergency hearing to accelerate the trial date. On what grounds?" "Your Honor, my client is suffering considerable distress from the false accusations Ms. Robinson has made against her character," Whitaker replied smoothly. Maya, representing herself again, stood. "Your Honor, the prosecution has repeatedly tried to rush this case. Now we know why. Victoria Sterling is destroying evidence as we speak." "That's an outrageous claim," Whitaker protested. "Robert Chen, the head of security who testified about the allegedly tamper-proof system, has disappeared," Maya continued. "And Mrs. Sterling has made emergency trips to 3 of her properties since my release." Judge Watkins looked sharply at Victoria. "Is this true, Mrs. Sterling?" Victoria leaned forward to whisper to her lawyers. Whitaker turned back to the judge. "My client has business interests that require her attention, Your Honor." "I'm denying the request to accelerate the trial date," Judge Watkins said firmly. "In fact, I'm extending the discovery period by 1 week to allow both sides adequate preparation." After the hearing, Maya met with Caroline Foster in a small conference room at the courthouse. "We found something interesting in the security footage backups," Foster said, opening her laptop. "Watch this." The screen showed footage from previous incidents where staff had been accused of theft. In each case, Victoria entered her bedroom minutes before reporting items missing. "She's hiding the items herself," Maya said. "Exactly," Foster agreed. "And look at this." She played another clip showing Robert Chen systematically editing security videos after each incident. "The question is why?" Foster continued. "What's the purpose of these fake theft claims?" "To create distractions," Maya explained. "David found evidence of wire transfers to offshore accounts within hours of each dinner party, totaling millions over 3 years." Foster looked stunned. "This is bigger than I thought. Money laundering on this scale would be a federal case." "The missing necklace was cover for Victoria's largest transfer yet," Maya explained. $12 million to accounts in Russia, China, and Saudi Arabia. "We need to proceed carefully," Foster warned. "Victoria Sterling has powerful friends." That evening, back at Zoe's apartment, Maya practiced her opening statement for trial while Zoe helped her select appropriate courtroom attire, a modest but professional navy suit that transformed her appearance. "You look like a lawyer now, not a maid," Zoe said approvingly. "That's the point," Maya replied. "I need the jury to see me as a professional, not a servant." David arrived with troubling news. Victoria's defense team has added 2 more attorneys and prepared character witnesses to testify about your unreliability. "Let them try," Maya said confidently. Later that night, as Maya reviewed her case notes, she received a text from an unknown number. "Victoria knows about your languages. Chen told her everything. Be careful tomorrow. She's desperate and dangerous people are involved." Maya showed the message to David. "We need insurance," she said. "This case has grown beyond my personal vindication. It's about exposing systematic corruption." "What do you have in mind?" David asked. "I'll record everything I've discovered," Maya said. "We'll make copies for you, Zoe, and your editor at the Financial Times. If anything happens to me before I can present my case, the story still gets out." As they prepared multiple packages of evidence, Maya realized how much the case had changed. What began as a simple theft accusation had revealed a complex web of financial crimes, corruption, and exploitation. "Tomorrow we meet with Pierre again to prepare his testimony," David said, gathering his things to leave. "And Caroline Foster mentioned that the federal agents want to interview you about the international transfers." Maya nodded, looking at the evidence spread across the table. Victoria had chosen her as a scapegoat because she seemed powerless, a maid with no connections. It was the biggest mistake Victoria Sterling had ever made. As Maya organized her documents for the next day, her phone buzzed with an email notification. Caroline Foster had sent her a single line. "Security footage from Sterling properties dating back 3 years has been seized under a new warrant. And you won't believe what we found in the backup files." Maya stared at her phone screen, reading Caroline Foster's email over and over. What could possibly be in those backup files? She forwarded the message to David, who called her immediately. "I just spoke with my contact at the FBI," David said, his voice excited. "The backup files show Victoria entering her bedroom before every reported theft over the past 3 years. She was hiding the items herself." "I knew it," Maya said. "But why would she keep those files? Why not destroy the evidence?" "She kept them on a secure server as insurance," David explained. "If anyone ever betrayed her, she could prove they were involved too. But she never expected the FBI to find them." The week before Maya's trial was a whirlwind of activity. Her case had transformed from a simple theft defense to an exposé of Victoria Sterling's criminal enterprise. The ankle monitor on her leg was a constant reminder that she wasn't completely free, but working from Zoe's apartment was far better than jail. Maya's small team grew when Caroline Foster assigned junior prosecutor Alex Thompson to assist her. Alex arrived at Zoe's apartment the next morning carrying boxes of evidence. "I'm not officially helping you," Alex said with a smile. "I'm just sharing evidence from our expanding investigation into Sterling properties." "How much trouble is Victoria in?" Zoe asked. Alex placed the boxes on the table. "Let's just say the theft case is now the smallest of her problems. The FBI is investigating money laundering, tax evasion, and corruption." They spent hours reviewing the security footage. The backup files revealed a clear pattern. During each dinner party where thefts occurred, Victoria entered her bedroom minutes before reporting items missing. She was hiding the items herself, Maya said, watching the footage, then blaming staff to create a distraction. Other clips showed Robert Chen systematically editing security videos after each incident, removing the footage of Victoria entering the rooms. Meanwhile, David's financial investigation uncovered wire transfers to offshore accounts within hours of each dinner party, totaling millions over 3 years. The missing necklace had served as perfect cover for Victoria's largest transfer yet, $12 million to accounts in Russia, China, and Saudi Arabia. "The pattern is clear," David said, showing Maya the bank records. "Victoria hosts a dinner party with international business partners. She accuses staff of theft to create a commotion. While everyone is focused on the theft, she transfers millions through her company." Maya prepared meticulously for trial, organizing evidence chronologically and practicing her opening statement. Despite offers of professional legal assistance from Foster, Maya decided to continue representing herself. "No one else can do what you can do," Alex agreed. "Your language skills are going to be crucial." Zoe helped Maya select appropriate courtroom attire, a modest but professional navy suit. When Maya tried it on, she barely recognized herself in the mirror. "You look completely different," Zoe said approvingly. "That's the point," Maya replied. I want the jury to see me as I really am, not as Victoria portrayed me. Pierre Laurent arrived the next day with additional evidence. Photographs of Victoria meeting with Judge Mitchell at a private club 2 weeks before Maya's arrest. She always met with officials before setting people up, Pierre explained. Judges, police captains, whoever might handle the case. This explains why Mitchell was assigned to my case so quickly, Maya said, examining the photos. Alex brought troubling news that afternoon. Victoria's defense team has added 2 more attorneys and prepared character witnesses to testify about your unreliability. What kind of witnesses? Maya asked. Former employers mostly, Alex explained. They're going to claim you had problems at previous jobs. But I didn't, Maya protested. I've always been a good employee. These people were paid to lie, Alex said grimly. They've also created a narrative about your non-existent gambling debts to explain why you supposedly stole the necklace. More concerning was the news about Robert Chen. He was apprehended at the Canadian border, Alex reported. He had forged identification and hard drives containing security footage from all Sterling properties. Is he talking to investigators? David asked. Alex nodded. He's negotiating a deal. If he testifies against Victoria, they'll reduce his charges. Meanwhile, Victoria had made several urgent trips to her various properties, likely destroying evidence. Pierre confirmed this behavior matched her previous patterns. Before my last court date, she visited every property and removed files, Pierre said. She's very careful about leaving trails. The night before the final preparation day, Maya worked late organizing exhibits in multiple languages. She was preparing evidence that would demonstrate Victoria's fluency in languages she claimed not to speak, a key point in proving her deception. Victoria doesn't realize the extent of my linguistic abilities, Maya told David. She knows I speak some languages, but not which ones or how fluently. That's your advantage, David agreed. She won't be prepared for what you can reveal in court. As a final preparation, Maya recorded a detailed account of everything she'd discovered, giving copies to David, Zoe, and a sealed envelope for David's editor at the New York Times. Insurance, Maya explained, in case anything happens before I can present my case. On the final day before trial, Maya's team conducted a mock cross-examination to prepare her for aggressive questioning from Victoria's lawyers. They'll try to rattle you, Alex warned. They'll bring up your lack of education, your status as a maid, anything to make you seem unreliable. I'm ready, Maya said confidently. That evening, as Maya reviewed her notes one final time, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Victoria knows about your languages. Chen told her everything. Be careful tomorrow. She's desperate and dangerous people are involved. Maya showed the message to the others. Victoria is finally realizing what she's up against. Should we be worried about your safety? Zoe asked, looking concerned. We've taken precautions, David assured her. I have contacts watching Victoria's movements, and the evidence packages ensure the truth gets out no matter what. As everyone prepared to leave for the night, giving Maya time to rest before the big day, Alex received a phone call that changed everything. That was Foster, he said, hanging up with a stunned expression. Federal agents just raided Victoria's New York office based on information from Chen. They found documents confirming money laundering through real estate projects in 12 countries. What does this mean for my trial? Maya asked. It might not even happen, Alex said. The federal charges could supersede the theft case entirely. No, Maya said firmly. I still want my day in court. This isn't just about Victoria's financial crimes. It's about how she exploits people like me. That story needs to be told too. After everyone left, Maya sat alone on Zoe's balcony, looking out at the lights of Westchester County. Tomorrow, she would face Victoria Sterling in court, not as a maid accused of theft, but as a woman ready to expose years of exploitation and corruption. Her phone rang, displaying a restricted number. Maya hesitated before answering. "Hello? Miss Robinson? This is Judge Elaine Watkins." Maya sat up straight, surprised to hear from the judge directly. "Yes, Your Honor?" "I wanted you to know that I've reviewed the additional evidence submitted by the prosecution," Judge Watkins said. "I'm making some adjustments to tomorrow's proceedings. Victoria Sterling will be required to attend in person despite her attorney's request to excuse her presence." "Thank you, Your Honor," Maya replied. "I've been a judge for 26 years, Ms. Robinson," Watkins continued. "I've never seen a case quite like this one. Whatever happens tomorrow, I want to ensure justice is properly served." After hanging up, Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose. For the first time since her ordeal began, she truly believed she might win. Not just her freedom, but the chance to expose Victoria Sterling's true nature to the world. As Maya prepared for bed, she noticed a black sedan parked across the street. The driver was watching Zoe's apartment building. Maya carefully closed the curtains and sent a text to David about the suspicious vehicle. Within 20 minutes, 2 unmarked police cars arrived and the sedan drove away quickly. Maya lay awake for hours, mentally rehearsing her opening statement and preparing for any surprises Victoria's team might have planned. By dawn, she was ready. The woman who had been invisible as a maid was about to become very visible indeed, and Victoria Sterling would finally face the consequences of her actions. The courthouse steps were packed with news crews and reporters when Maya arrived for her trial. Police officers created a path through the crowd, escorting Maya, Zoe, and David into the building. Inside, the hallways were just as crowded with people hoping to witness what newspapers were now calling the Sterling scandal. "I've never seen so many reporters," Zoe whispered as they approached the courtroom doors. "Victoria Sterling is a prominent figure," David explained quietly, "and the story of a maid taking her on in court has captured public attention." The courtroom was already full when they entered. Maya walked confidently to the defense table and sat alone. Across the aisle, Victoria Sterling was surrounded by 3 attorneys led by James Whitaker. Victoria wore an expensive cream suit and pearl necklace, looking calm and composed. At precisely 9 o'clock, a court officer called out, "All rise!" The Honorable Judge Elaine Watkins presiding. Judge Watkins entered and took her place at the bench. "Be seated," she said firmly. "I understand there are many interested parties here today, but this is a court of law, not a theater. Any disruptions will result in immediate removal." She looked directly at Maya. "Ms. Robinson, are you ready to proceed representing yourself?" "Yes, Your Honor," Maya replied. "Mr. Whitaker, is the prosecution ready?" Whitaker stood. "Yes, Your Honor." Judge Watkins nodded. "You may make your opening statements." Prosecution first. Whitaker approached the jury box with theatrical confidence. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is simple. Maya Robinson worked as a maid in Victoria Sterling's home. She abused that position of trust to steal a family heirloom worth $75,000. The evidence is clear. Security footage shows her entering Mrs. Sterling's bedroom during a dinner party and leaving with the necklace." He gestured toward Maya. "The defendant's decision to represent herself is simply another performance. Don't be fooled by her act. The facts and evidence prove her guilt beyond reasonable doubt." When Whitaker finished, Judge Watkins turned to Maya. "Ms. Robinson, your opening statement." Maya stood and moved to face the jury. Gone was the timid maid in a uniform. Today she wore a professional navy suit, her hair neatly styled, looking every bit as polished as the lawyers across the aisle. "Ladies and gentlemen," Maya began in a clear, confident voice, "this case is not about a stolen necklace. It is about a pattern of exploitation and financial crimes hidden behind false accusations." Maya paused, then continued. "The evidence will show that Victoria Sterling has falsely accused housekeepers of theft 4 times in 5 years, always during dinner parties with international business associates, always when large sums of money were being transferred to offshore accounts." Victoria shifted in her seat, whispering to Whitaker, who looked increasingly concerned. Mrs. Sterling claimed in her testimony that she needs translators for her international business because she doesn't speak foreign languages, Maya continued. Then she did something unexpected. She spoke several sentences in fluent Russian, then switched to Mandarin Chinese. «Я понимаю все, что вы говорили на ваших деловых встречах», Maya said clearly. 我听懂了，你在电话里说的每一句话. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Watkins banged her gavel. Ms. Robinson, what is the meaning of this? The judge asked. Your Honor, I just said in Russian and then in Mandarin that I understood everything Mrs. Sterling said at her business meetings and on her phone calls. Languages she claimed under oath not to speak. This is relevant because her false statements about her language abilities are part of a larger pattern of deception. Judge Watkins looked intrigued. Continue your opening statement. Maya faced the jury again. By the end of this trial, you will understand that I was chosen as a scapegoat because Victoria Sterling believed I was powerless, a maid with no connections who could be easily blamed while she conducted illegal financial transactions worth millions of dollars. When Maya returned to her seat, she noticed Victoria's face had lost some of its confidence. The prosecution presented its case first. The security footage showing Maya entering Victoria's bedroom was played again. Patricia Dawson testified that Maya had asked about the necklace's value weeks before the theft. The pawnshop ticket allegedly found in Maya's apartment was entered into evidence. When it was Maya's turn for cross-examination, she focused on inconsistencies. She showed how the timestamp format on the bedroom camera differed from other cameras. She questioned Patricia Dawson about the $5,000 deposit in her bank account 2 days after Maya's arrest. Objection! Whitaker shouted. This is speculation without foundation. Your Honor, I have bank records showing the deposit, Maya countered, presenting the documents. Judge Watkins overruled Whitaker's objection, and Patricia became flustered under Maya's questioning. Then came a significant moment when Robert Chen was called to testify. The witness is not available, Your Honor, Whitaker said nervously. Mr. Chen is ill. Is that so? Judge Watkins asked skeptically. The court was not notified of this illness. Ms. Robinson, your response? Your Honor, Robert Chen is not ill. He was apprehended at the Canadian border with forged identification and hard drives containing security footage from Sterling Properties. He is currently in federal custody. Whitaker looked stunned. Victoria whispered urgently to her other attorneys. Since Mr. Chen previously testified under oath at the preliminary hearing, Maya continued, I request permission to play his recorded testimony and question the inconsistencies. Judge Watkins allowed it. On the screen, Chen's previous testimony played, showing him confidently stating that the security system was tamper-proof and that only he and Victoria had access. Maya paused the recording at a crucial moment. Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would like to demonstrate something important. With approval granted, Maya addressed a question to Chen's recorded image in fluent Mandarin. To everyone's surprise, the recording continued, and Chen responded automatically in Mandarin before catching himself and looking alarmed. The courtroom erupted. Judge Watkins banged her gavel repeatedly. Order! She demanded. Miss Robinson, explain what just happened. I asked Mr. Chen in Mandarin if he altered the timestamps on the security footage. He responded, only when Mrs. Sterling instructed me to before realizing his mistake. He understood and spoke a language he claimed not to know, just like Mrs. Sterling. Victoria's face had turned pale. Whitaker was on his feet, objecting loudly, but the damage was done. The dramatic turning point came when Maya called Pierre Laurent to testify. Objection! Whitaker shouted. This witness was not on the original list. Your Honor, Mr. Laurent was added to the witness list 3 days ago, Maya responded calmly. The prosecution was notified according to procedure. Judge Watkins allowed Pierre to testify. He described witnessing Victoria hiding jewelry before reporting previous thefts and showed text messages from Victoria discussing setting up the new girl days before Maya's arrest. Did Victoria Sterling ever explain why she falsely accused staff of theft? Maya asked. Yes, Pierre answered. She said it was the perfect distraction while she moved money through her company. No one looks at bank transfers when there's drama about stolen jewelry. Maya then introduced bank statements in 7 different languages showing Victoria's international money transfers coinciding with each reported theft. Your Honor, these documents show transfers totaling $12 million to accounts in Russia, China, and Saudi Arabia on the night I was arrested, exactly when the necklace supposedly went missing. For her final revelation, Maya played a recording. This was captured during the dinner party, she explained. Victoria's voice came clearly through the speakers, speaking fluent Russian to an associate. «Используй горничную как идеального козла отпущения. Никто не поверит ей вместо меня. Use the maid as a perfect scapegoat. No one will believe her over me». Victoria jumped to her feet. «Это незаконная запись!» she shouted in Russian. «You can't use that recording, it's inadmissible!» The courtroom fell silent as Victoria realized her mistake. She had just responded in perfect Russian, a language she had claimed under oath not to speak. Judge Watkins called for order as the doors at the back of the courtroom opened. Several people in suits entered and stood along the walls. Caroline Foster rose from her seat in the gallery. Your Honor, I'm Assistant District Attorney Caroline Foster. In light of the evidence presented today and the ongoing federal investigation, I'm formally announcing that this case has expanded to include federal charges of money laundering, tax evasion, and obstruction of justice against Victoria Sterling and Sterling Properties. Victoria turned to look at Maya, their eyes meeting across the courtroom. For the first time, the powerful real estate mogul looked genuinely afraid of her former maid who had understood everything all along. Judge Watkins banged her gavel. In light of these developments, this court will take a 30-minute recess. Ms. Sterling is not to leave the courthouse. As Maya stood at the defense table gathering her notes, she felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. The truth was finally coming to light. The court reconvened after the 30-minute recess. The atmosphere had completely changed. 4 federal agents now stood near Victoria Sterling, who sat stiffly between her lawyers. Her face had lost all color, and she kept her eyes fixed on the table in front of her. Judge Watkins looked at the papers in front of her, then addressed the courtroom. In light of the evidence presented today and the federal investigation now underway, this court is prepared to rule on the matter of the state versus Maya Robinson. The room fell silent as everyone waited for the judge's decision. Ms. Robinson, please rise, Judge Watkins said. Maya stood, her heart beating rapidly. This court hereby dismisses all charges against you, Judge Watkins announced. The evidence clearly indicates not only your innocence but a deliberate attempt to frame you for a crime that likely never occurred. Maya felt her knees weaken with relief. Zoe, sitting behind her, squeezed her shoulder gently. Ms. Sterling, the judge continued, turning to Victoria, you will remain in custody pending arraignment on federal charges. This court is adjourned. With a final bang of her gavel, Judge Watkins left the bench. The courtroom erupted in voices as reporters rushed toward the doors to file their stories. 2 federal agents approached Victoria. Victoria Sterling, you are under arrest for money laundering, tax evasion, and obstruction of justice, one agent said formally. You have the right to remain silent. As Victoria was led away in handcuffs, she locked eyes with Maya one final time. The hatred in her gaze was mixed with something else now. Fear and disbelief that her carefully constructed world had been destroyed by someone she had considered invisible. Outside the courthouse, a wall of reporters waited. Cameras flashed and microphones were thrust forward as Maya emerged with Zoe and David beside her. Miss Robinson! How does it feel to be exonerated? Will you sue Victoria Sterling for false imprisonment? Did you know about the money laundering operation while working there? Maya paused on the steps, taking a deep breath before speaking. I just wanted the truth to be heard, she said simply. That's all I have to say right now. With that brief statement, Zoe helped Maya navigate through the crowd to a waiting car where Alex Thompson was holding the door open. Nicely done, Alex said as they pulled away from the courthouse. Short and dignified, perfect for the evening news. Back at Zoe's apartment, Maya's ankle monitor was removed by an officer who offered a rare apology. "Sorry about all this, ma'am. System doesn't always get it right." Maya turned on the television to find her case was the top story on every channel. Helicopter footage showed federal agents raiding Sterling Properties offices in New York, Boston, and Miami. Boxes of documents were being carried out while employees stood watching in shock. "Breaking news," an announcer said gravely. "Federal authorities have denied bail for real estate mogul Victoria Sterling, citing her as an extreme flight risk after her private jet was found fueled and ready at Teterboro Airport, with a flight plan filed for Switzerland, which has no extradition treaty with the United States." David arrived an hour later with champagne. "The Financial Times just published my full investigation," he said, showing them his tablet. The headline read, "Sterling Scandal: How a Multilingual Maid Exposed a $1 million Money Laundering Operation." "To Maya," Zoe said, raising her glass, "who fought back against impossible odds." Maya's phone had been ringing constantly. Law firms impressed by her self-representation offered jobs. A television producer wanted exclusive rights to her story. Even intelligence agencies called, interested in her language skills and analytical abilities. At 6 o'clock that evening, Maya received a call from Carolyn Foster. "Miss Robinson," Foster began, "I wanted to personally apologize for what you experienced in our justice system. The district attorney has authorized me to inform you that victim compensation will be substantial once Victoria's assets are processed." "Thank you," Maya said. "What happens next with Victoria?" "She's facing 20 years minimum," Foster explained. "And it's not just her. Several of her business associates who attended those dinner parties are being investigated too. Robert Chen is cooperating fully in exchange for a reduced sentence." After hanging up, Maya sat quietly by the window, watching the sunset over Westchester County. Her life had completely transformed in less than a month. "What will you do now?" Zoe asked gently. "I haven't decided," Maya admitted. "I've received so many offers." The next morning, Maya was surprised to see a group of women gathered outside Zoe's apartment building. When she went downstairs, she discovered they were domestic workers, housekeepers, nannies, and home health aides who had come to thank her. "You stood up for all of us," an older woman told her with tears in her eyes. "So many of us have been falsely accused by employers, but we didn't have your courage or abilities." A younger woman stepped forward. "I'm Teresa. I used to work for Victoria Sterling, too. 3 years ago, she accused me of stealing a watch. I was arrested, but then the charges were dropped when the watch mysteriously reappeared. I never understood what happened until I saw your case on the news." More stories emerged as the women spoke. Maya listened to each one, feeling a growing sense of purpose. That afternoon, Pierre Laurent called with news. "I've started organizing a fund for domestic workers who have been falsely accused by employers," he told Maya. "Would you consider being our spokesperson?" "I'd be honored," Maya replied. Over the next few days, the full impact of what became known as the Sterling collapse continued to unfold. The Sterling mansion was seized by federal authorities. Staff were interviewed as potential witnesses, many confirming Victoria's pattern of abusive behavior. The media frenzy became overwhelming, and Maya decided to retreat to a friend's lake house in upstate New York. She needed time to process everything that had happened. On her third day at the lake house, a special delivery arrived, a letter from her grandmother's former UN colleague. "Dear Maya," the letter began, "I was moved beyond words to see how you use the linguistic gifts your grandmother helped nurture. Eliza would have been so proud of you. When you're ready, I'd like to offer you a position at the International Workers' Rights Organization. Your experience and abilities would be invaluable in our efforts to protect vulnerable employees worldwide." As Maya sat on the dock that evening, watching the sunset reflect on the calm water, her phone rang. The screen showed a restricted number. "Hello? Miss Robinson, this is Judge Elaine Watkins. Maya sat up straight, surprised. "Yes, Your Honor? I hope I'm not intruding on your recovery time," Judge Watkins said, her voice warmer than it had been in court. "I've been thinking about your case and the issues it raised about our legal system." "What issues specifically?" Maya asked. "Bias against self-represented defendants, prejudice based on occupation, the way wealthy defendants can influence proceedings." Judge Watkins paused. "I'm establishing a judicial reform committee focused on addressing these problems, and I can't think of anyone better qualified to help us than you." "Me?" Maya asked, surprised. "I'm not a lawyer." "No, but you've experienced these failures firsthand, and you found a way to overcome them," the judge replied. "Your perspective would be invaluable. Would you consider it?" As the sun dipped below the horizon, Maya thought about her grandmother who had taught her that languages were tools for understanding and for justice. "Yes," Maya said finally, "I would be honored to help." When she hung up, Maya felt a sense of clarity she hadn't experienced since before her arrest. Victoria Sterling had chosen her as a scapegoat because she seemed powerless. That mistake had not only brought Victoria down, but had opened a door to a new purpose for Maya, one that would help others who had no voice in the system. The necklace that had supposedly been stolen had never been found, because it had never been missing. But Maya had found something much more valuable: her true calling. 6 months passed since Maya stood on the dock at the lake house and accepted Judge Watkins' invitation. The seasons changed from spring to summer and then to fall. The leaves outside Columbia Law School's windows were bright red and orange as Maya stepped to the podium in the packed lecture hall. Maya looked different now. She wore a tailored charcoal suit, her hair styled in a professional bob. There was a confidence in her posture that hadn't existed when she wore a maid's uniform at the Sterling mansion. "Justice speaks in many languages," Maya began, looking out at the 200 law students who had come to hear her speak. "Sometimes it speaks in courtroom procedures and legal precedents. Sometimes it speaks in evidence and exhibits. And sometimes, as in my case, it speaks in Russian, Mandarin, and 10 other languages that helped expose the truth." The students laughed appreciatively. Maya's case was now required reading in their criminal justice courses. "6 months ago, I stood in a courtroom fighting for my freedom," Maya continued. "Today, I want to share what I learned about our justice system, both its flaws and its potential." In the front row, Zoe Washington smiled encouragingly. Beside her sat David Winters, who had won a prestigious journalism award for his coverage of what was now called the Sterling case. Maya explained how she had established the Multilingual Justice Foundation, which provided legal support and translation services for domestic workers and immigrants facing workplace abuse or false accusations. The foundation has already helped 37 workers who were falsely accused by employers, Maya told the students. "Many of these cases follow the same pattern I experienced: wealthy employers taking advantage of language barriers and limited resources." After the lecture, a student approached Maya with a question. "What happened to Victoria Sterling?" "We haven't heard much lately." "She's still awaiting trial," Maya explained. "Federal investigations uncovered international money laundering operations worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Her assets remain frozen, and she's under house arrest in a small apartment in Manhattan, a very different living situation than her former mansion." The student looked surprised. "Will you testify at her trial?" "Yes," Maya nodded, along with several other former employees who experienced similar false accusations. Outside the lecture hall, Professor James Bennett greeted Maya warmly. "Excellent presentation," he said. "Would you consider teaching a workshop for our students next semester? Your practical experience with self-representation would be invaluable." "I'd be happy to," Maya replied. "Education is a key part of our foundation's mission." Later that afternoon, Maya visited the foundation's offices in downtown Manhattan. The modest space housed 6 full-time employees, including Zoe, who had become the research director. "We have 3 new cases this week," Zoe reported, handing Maya several folders. All domestic workers, all accused of theft by employers. Any patterns? Maya asked. 2 of the employers have connections to Sterling Properties, Zoe confirmed. It seems Victoria's business model was more widespread than we thought. Maya sat at her desk, reviewing the files. The foundation was funded partly by her settlement from the Sterling case, which had been substantial once Victoria's hidden assets were located. Maya had also received an anonymous donation of $1 million, which many suspected came from a group of domestic workers who had suffered under wealthy employers. David arrived at 4 o'clock for their weekly meeting. He continued investigating similar cases nationwide, uncovering patterns of exploitation. Robert Chen's testimony has opened up 5 more investigations, David reported. He revealed that Victoria specifically hired staff with language barriers or precarious immigration status because they were easier to frame. What about Judge Mitchell? Maya asked. Resigned from the bench, David said. The Judicial Ethics Committee is investigating him and 3 other judges who had suspicious connections to Sterling donations. Maya's phone rang, Judge Watkins calling about their Judicial Reform Committee. Maya, we're making real progress, Judge Watkins said excitedly. The new guidelines for non-native English speakers in court will be implemented statewide next month, and the protocols you developed for self-represented defendants have been approved by the State Bar Association. That's wonderful news, Maya replied. Will the training program for court interpreters move forward too? Yes, with full funding, Judge Watkins confirmed. Your experience has truly transformed how our courts approach language barriers. At 6 o'clock, Maya left the office for her weekly community workshop at the Bronx Community Center. 20 domestic workers sat in folding chairs, many still wearing their work uniforms, listening intently as Maya explained basic legal rights. Your employer cannot take your passport, Maya told them in both English and Spanish. That is illegal, and you should always document your work hours and any unusual requests. A woman raised her hand. My employer accuses me of breaking things I didn't touch. She takes money from my paycheck. That's wage theft, Maya explained. We can help you file a complaint. Please see me after the workshop. These community sessions were the most meaningful part of Maya's work. She remembered how isolated she had felt in the Sterling household and how vulnerable. On Saturday morning, Maya made her monthly visit to Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn. She placed fresh flowers on her grandmother Eliza's grave and sat on the small bench nearby. I'm using everything you taught me, Grandma, Maya said softly. Your languages became my shield and my voice. She told her grandmother about the foundation's progress, the judicial reforms, and the community workshops. Maya could almost hear Eliza's proud response. That evening, Maya attended a fundraising dinner for the foundation. The ballroom of the Westchester Hotel was filled with supporters, including Judge Watkins, Caroline Foster, now running for district attorney, and many domestic workers whose cases the foundation had helped resolve. During dessert, Maya was surprised when Pierre Laurent approached her table with an elderly gentleman. Maya, this is Harold Cunningham, Pierre said. He was Victoria's father's driver many years ago. The older man shook Maya's hand. I've been following your story, he said. What you may not know is that Victoria's father did exactly what she did. False accusations, financial schemes, everything. She learned it from him. Did anyone ever stand up to him? Maya asked. Not successfully, Harold sighed. He was too powerful. That's why I wanted to meet you, to see the person who finally broke the cycle. The following Monday, Maya returned to Columbia Law School for a special seminar with advanced students interested in cases involving vulnerable workers. After her presentation, a student raised her hand. Ms. Robinson, what would you say to others facing seemingly impossible odds against powerful adversaries? The room fell silent as everyone waited for Maya's answer. She thought carefully before responding. Remember that your perceived weaknesses, your background, your differences, the things others use to underestimate you, can become your greatest strengths, Maya said. I was invisible until I chose to be seen. I was silent until I decided to speak, in all my languages. After the seminar, Maya walked across the Columbia campus with Professor Bennett. Students nodded respectfully as she passed. "Hard to believe you were in jail just 6 months ago," the professor commented. Maya smiled. The world can change quickly when truth comes to light. And Victoria Sterling? Do you think she understands what she did wrong? No, Maya said honestly. People like Victoria believe they're entitled to use others as tools. Even now, she probably believes she's the victim. That night, Maya received an unexpected email. It contained a job offer from the Department of Justice, seeking her expertise for a new task force on labor trafficking and exploitation. As she considered the offer, Maya thought about how much her life had changed. From cleaning Victoria Sterling's mansion to being recruited by the federal government. From being powerless to helping others find their power. The Sterling mansion where she had once worked was now empty, its contents seized, its owner awaiting trial. But Maya's life was fuller than ever, filled with purpose and meaning. She opened her laptop and began typing a response to the Department of Justice. The case that had nearly destroyed her life had instead revealed her true calling. Maya Robinson, once the invisible maid, was now helping to rebuild the justice system itself. One language, one case, one person at a time. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.